What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar here, coming at you with a Dogecoin chart today. I've got this squiggly line. It's a very important line. No, I'm just kidding. We don't need it. What I do want to talk about is a couple of things. Okay, so first off, we got Doge here on a weekly basis. I'm going to go to the all-time history of this chart real quick. We're just going to look at it real quick. And I've got a couple of things drawn up here. If you remember my last Doge video, I had some ranges drawn up. Anytime that we broke below, or anytime we broke above this zone in the RSI, the overbought zone, we got out of the band, we got into the black. We were in overbought conditions. Anytime that that's happened, when we've come out of it, I've measured all the decreases that have happened from there. And I mean, not all of them. I did have that on my last video, but I just took a sample size of some. Really what I got was the smallest one that I could find and the largest one I could find, 86% versus 42%. We'll get to that in a second. What I want to identify right now is this purple line and how Doge kind of reacts to this purple line. We can see here it found support right off of this line. Once, twice, three times it looks like down here. You know, we got nice little bounces around it and boom, took off. We found a little support here. This is what they call a partial decline. It's actually a bullish thing where you can't get to the area of support because there's so much interest. That's the idea, right? And instead of actually reaching the target zone, it got front ran. So there's so much buying pressure here that it, I mean, obviously that's what happened next. But then selling pressure continued afterwards. With a lot of new buyers comes a lot of potential sellers too. Found resistance on this purple line. I would say we found a little support here, but once we closed, you can see actually this candle, once we actually closed below this purple line, it was downhill from there. And then we found it as resistance again. We claimed it as support here, and we kind of hugged it just like we hugged it here, but to the reverse. Now when we closed above it, it was off to the races to the upside, okay? So now here we are at this purple line. We just rejected it. We just rejected it. You can see that we just rejected it, right? I mean, like, tell me I'm not crazy here, but let's go back in time and look at any time, like I said, any time that we've rejected this overbought RSI territory. The largest that we've seen was 86%. The smallest that we've seen was 42%. And I know that on the other chart, I used the Binance chart, so that might be different. Or maybe it's not different. I don't know. I feel like before it was 88% and now it's saying 86%. I don't know. I don't know why. That's okay. And I felt like it was 40%, not 42%. But we're going to round up. We're going to say 40% and 86%. Why not? Let's just do it. So Doge already, from this relative high, remember we're rejecting the overbought zone here. The overbought zone, this bullish territory, we rejected it. Anytime we've come into it and we've rejected it, it's been not a good thing necessarily in the long-term time frames. At a minimum, we've dropped 40%, which already we've dropped more than that. It has been 55%, and at a maximum we have dropped 86%, which if we dropped 86%, that would put us all the way down at right about 2 cents, just over 2 cents, 2.1 cents. If you've been following me, if you watch this channel, you know that I think that that's an achievable price. I think it's possible. It fits in with this kind of like downtrend here. That would put us in line in January of 2023. It kind of fits this whole narrative we got with Dogecoin being in a downtrend. I know that over here it looks like a higher high, but really this high, it's actually a lower high. Sorry, it's just a continuation. It's a lower high than this high, it's a lower high than this high. It's lower, it's just a series of lower highs. When we confirm a lower high, which I think we have, we'll really confirm it once we get below this green line, I would say, but I already think that's breaking half of this big candle here, closing down like this, I think, and rejecting this purple line and coming out of the overbought zone. I think we've confirmed that this is a lower high. And after a lower high in a downtrend, we look for a lower low. And, potentially in January, late January of this year, we could see Dogecoin be down around 2 cents. It's possible. Maybe it doesn't follow that to a T. Maybe it's not that pretty looking. Maybe, oops, I can't use my mouse correctly. Maybe that price happens over here. Maybe we get something that's like this. It's a partial decline. You almost touch the line, but you can't yet, right? Maybe we get it like right here to 2.5 cents instead of just above 2 cents. It's like 2.5 cents. And then we go up. I don't know where the bottom's going to be. I actually don't even think that we're going to go below 3 cents. I really think that we're going to go below 4 cents. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting prices to go below 4 cents. But, and I mean, if we measure it here, you know, again, from top to 4 cents, let's just say 4 cents. 74%, that's a doable range. We've seen it. I mean, on our last drop here, we had 78%. The one before that even, let's see, I don't know. What was this? Oops. 48, that doesn't help my case. 56, you know, which we're kind of around that right now. But this was also like a stair step in an uptrend, where here this is a stair step in a downtrend. It might be a little different with the downside. And then up to down, that's another 53, 55%. But in the uptrend, if you see these downtrends, what we get, you know, we get, oops, man, I cannot operate this mouse today. I'm just going to do this. There we go. In the downtrends, we've got 62% drops. The beginning of this downtrend, 86% drops. Beginning, you know, pretty significant downtrend. This is like a little bear market here, a little mini bear, 83%. These uptrends have smaller decreases, but the downtrends have bigger ones. Anyways, what I'm getting at is I do think Doge is going to go lower. I think it's at least going to go below this white line here. All right, maybe it's a red line whenever I click it. Yeah, it's a red line. I do think it's going to go below this red line here, but I don't think, and I'm going to make it white actually, I don't think it goes below the red line. Oh, there's too many white lines. I'm going to take away the channel that I drew, the little broadening, descending channel. So that's the kind of range I'm expecting. If you've been watching this channel, you know that's an area that I'm looking for. It kind of matches with this low point over here. You know, maybe we can even shave this up a little bit, something like that. Just above 4 cents right there. You know, this is kind of the range we're looking for. If we take a fib from the last bottom to the most recent top, our 1272 is in this range. Our 1618 is in this range, closer to that 2 cent zone. 1414 is in this range. It's got a lot going on down here. What I wanted to talk about now, after laying all that on you, is talking about fibs, I want to talk about the possible price trajectories that we have for Doge. If we see here, oh, oops, sorry, I typed in Bitcoin, habits. If we see here, we rejected this 382 line. From top to bottom, that's our fib, right? You've got this line up here, measured all the way down here to this bottom here, most local high and local low. We had this nice rally, which had more volume than we've seen really since, I mean, that was the most volume we've seen since October of 2021 in over a year. That's literally a year's worth of data where we didn't see that much volume in a week come in. That was significant volume. But if we look back retrospectively, it's a blip compared to some of the volume that we've seen in the prior bull market. And you can go on other exchanges and see the same results. It's not that it's insignificant. I would say it's definitely significant, but is it like astonishing? Is it enough to like get us going? I don't think so. I think we know what that looks like. I think we've seen that before. We're in a downtrend right now. It's different than being at the you know, a crab market coming into a bull trend. We're in a downtrend still. We've confirmed that. We haven't given signals like this where you got a high and then you have a higher high here and you're moving sideways for a very long time. It bored people out after a big downtrend. If you remember the old chart, this was coming in from an uptrend to a downtrend. We're still in that downtrend now. To be fair, we are seeing some of that sideways price action happen right now. We're seeing it. Could we keep going sideways? Could it go sideways all the way, you know, out this way? It could. It definitely could. It's possible. Maybe, you know, April 2023, something like that. Maybe it goes later. Maybe it doesn't go that far. I don't know. But I don't think we're done going lower yet. I do think what's going to happen is one of two things. We're going to go up or we're going to go down. If we're going to go up, what's going to happen, what we need to achieve, what needs to happen, is we need to get above this red line. What you don't want to see whenever you see this is a big fib here. Okay, this Fibonacci measurement, the fib retracement measurement, this is a very big range. This is the whole bear cycle right now. It's the whole bear market from the ending of the bull cycle, the beginning of the bear, to potentially the end of the bear, or at least the lowest point. This is significant. Okay, rejecting off the 382 is not something you want to do if you want to see constructive growth in the markets. What you want to see is you want to see stuff like this. You know, you come down to your little blue line here, whatever. You break above this. Maybe you come down like this, stuff like that. You know, you want to see a little stair-stepping pattern. It doesn't have to ideally be like that. It could, you know, we could go all the way up here and then come back all the way down here and then come back up here, test that. You know, like, it doesn't have to be so pretty, but you want to see constructive bounces off of these areas. What you don't want to see is constructive rejections. If you see constructive rejections, that means, you know, lower prices are probable. What needs to happen, just like we held this line here, which is a good thing, this blue line down here, holding this is a good thing. What we want to do is we want to break above this red line, hold it as support. We want to close above this red line here, not close below it. We closed last week below it. We have 5 days basically left in this week. We want to get above this red line and close above it if we want the prices. If Doge is to go higher, if we're to test this 13 to 14 cent range again, we're going to need it to close above 9.3 cents. That's what we need to happen. If it can't do that this week, it's not condemning, it's not all goes to hell, but to me that would be very suggestive that we are rejecting this red line. You can even see it actually. You know, we have that little wick there up to the red line, just below it. And if we can't close above this week, this could look like a rejection off the yellow followed by a rejection off the red, continuing back down. The last hope would be this 0.069 line. It's not a fib level, but it is a level that I find significant. I mean, you can even see how the price reacts with it here. To me, it's significant. I find significance on it, and that's the whole point of TA anyways, is using the things that you find as significant to help you make good or bad moves. Hopefully not bad ones here. But if we can't close above this red line, if we close below it, we're going to look at this blue line. That's our last hope. If we can't close, if we do close below the blue line, that's indicative. It's not condemning, but it is indicative that we will go lower. We will see these extensions come in, which are at 3.5 cents to about 2.4 cents. You know, let's just round. We're going to round there, 3.5 to 2.4, or I guess 3.6 to 2.4 cents. That's kind of the range that we're given, and that's all likely to happen, or I should say more likely to happen, if we confirm a close again this week below this red line, and then ultimately more condemning, in my opinion, if we close below this blue line. If we can close above this red line, then we're going to look to test this level again. And with 2 wicks like this being to the upside, I would think that the odds of coming back up to this level and breaking above it are good. Definitely good. If we break above this level, what we'd really like to see is finding support on this line or coming back down and confirming this line as support. That's what we want to see. If we can do that, if we can do either of those things or both of those things, then we're looking at the 618, the 618 over here, which is at 26.2 cents. And that's a very significant line. It's a very significant line. Because if we break that line, if we break that line, if we can break above it, close above it, maybe even confirm it as support, just to, you know, really confirm good things are coming, we're looking at the 1272 to the 1618, which you guys know I've talked about as potential targets for the next bull cycle, are at $1.54 and around $4. Around $4. If we have a lower low than this, which I do think we're going to get, that 1618 is only going to grow. You know, here it is. We're just going to move it a little. Let's move it to this low over here. You know, that you can see where this gray line is. It's lower than that line for sure, definitely. That puts 1618 all the way at $4.40. That's significantly higher. The 1272, instead of it being at 151, it's at 162. Stuff like that. Anyways, for now, this is what we got. And I'm not saying that I think this is going to happen. I mean, I think this could happen if we see some constructive behavior taking place in the fibs now. But it's not going to happen immediately. I don't think it's going to be like something that happens like, you know, like it's going to just go like that. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a long, drawn-out process that's probably going to take us about a year. Like probably about this time next year will we see the significant moves. I don't think that it's going to go down for a year. And when I say sideways, I don't necessarily mean it's just going to be neutral. It probably will have an upside inclination once we've stopped going lower. If this is that sideways point, then that's what would happen. But that's all assuming that we close above this red line here. I'm thinking that we're going lower, and that's all assuming that we're going to close below this red line here. It might not seem like it, but this is actually a pretty significant week, you guys. This is a pretty significant week, I would say. We've got significant volume in comparison to these 2 weeks with this red candle here. Significant volume here. We've probably had in the last 2 weeks more selling volume is what it looks like than we had buying volume. But every buyer is a seller, every seller is a buyer. I hate that idea as a metric, but just to be fair, there's more volume in these red candles than there is on the green. There's probably more people that sold up here and less people that bought down here. That doesn't mean that we're going lower. That doesn't mean we're going lower. More volume could come in at any point in time. But Elon Musk buying Twitter, announcing how he wants Dogecoin to be a part of it, and all we got was a lower high with, decent volume, but nothing really to brag about, honestly. It's the biggest volume we've seen in a year, sure, but off of what? Off of nothing? We got a ripple in the land of nothing. We didn't get these huge Poseidon-like waves. We want those. That creates these giant moves that we see. And those giant moves, if we go back again, go all the way back to Doge's all-time history here. I'm just going to delete all these. You can see that, sideways. A little bit of down and sideways. But really, we had some sideways action going on here. This is actually a really short time. For 63 days. That's a really short time. And then boom, off to the races, right? You can see here, we saw some sideways. I mean, technically this was the low. It came up, but really we saw some sideways action for a very long time. And then boom, it was off to the races after about 2 years. That was a long, long time. Here, after our last, or not the last bull run, but the bull run before that, we saw our top. Once we finally found our bottom, which was... I mean, essentially, what would that be? I don't even know, like 3 years? I don't know. Essentially, 798 days. After we found that bottom, we moved sideways. We went up a little bit, sure, but then we came back down. I'd say we moved sideways with a bullish inclination until almost a year later, 294 days. And then we popped off really hard. If this was the bottom... And if we've been moving sideways, again, with a bullish inclination, potentially, in this little range, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We do have a high, a higher high, a higher high. We have a low here and a clear higher low, potentially another higher low, potentially. But in this overall big range, we have just another lower high. It's nothing impressive on minuscule volume. Again, it's minuscule compared to all this stuff. You can't even see it now. I have to, zoom out over here. It is the most volume we've seen in over a year. I'm not trying to discredit it, but it's nothing to brag about. We rejected off the purple line. We got resistance. We were overbought here. And the minimums that we've seen, sure, we've hit it. We're in that range, but we just rejected this purple line. Anytime that we've rejected it like this before, I mean, let's just see. We rejected it here, and we didn't come back above it for a half a year. We rejected it here, and we didn't get back above it for about a half a year again. Here we rejected it again, right here. We didn't get above it, and that was for 105 days. So that's closer to a third of a year. That's a little bit shorter, but this was kind of a fake out. It wasn't, the start to anything. This was just really the beginning of more sideways. This whole situation was sideways. This is our first resistance down here. If we were to even do a third of a year would be like 126 days, I guess, 120 days. Third of a year right there. That puts us in February of 2023. And that was the shortest that we saw these rejections coming from. Let's see. I mean, maybe we can find shorter. No, that's the shortest that we can find. What could Doge do in that time? It doesn't have to go down. But if this is a range, it's probably in the middle of it right now. It probably will go a little lower. And I don't know, man. I just ultimately, in my honest opinion, I think if we go lower, it's not going to look good, at least from the fib perspective. And that would make me think we're going to go lower. We don't have to, but anything could happen. But time will tell. It's not like some move that's going to prove me wrong and I'm going to lose my ass on it. This is going to take time. If I'm waiting for these lower prices all this time and I see how much of the sideways action is happening and we're getting this slightly higher lows even if we haven't had a pop like this, I'm going to change my mind. But especially by the time, if we get some sideways, we don't really make too many advances. If we don't make advances below this level here, by basically below 6 cents, if we don't make advances below that line before the end of the year, really before February, then I would get over the idea that we're going to go lower than this low. I would start accepting the idea that this is the low. But to do that, I would like to see some more sideways action. I'd like to see higher lows. I would like to see a higher high, which we haven't gotten in well over a year yet. No, I'm okay. Thank you, though. I know I'm talking a whole lot, guys, but this is critical. This is critical right now. Doge is in a very critical positioning. It, from bottom to top, again, it needs to get above this red line. This is a very significant fib. This isn't the same as like drawing all these little fibs in between here. Like I'm looking at the lows here, measuring from the bottom to the top here. I could take the big one away just for a second. Bottom to top here. And yes, this gives me the potential targets for the market low, but this fib, how this interacts is a lot less significant than what we're seeing with this big fib. It's a lot less significant. And this could be the wrong placements for it. Maybe this big fib needs to be placed lower. Maybe it does. I don't know. The only way to know that is if the price comes lower. We haven't had that yet. So right now, to me, this is the most significant thing to go off of. And how we know if we're going to go lower, I'm just going to say it one more time, is how we react with this red line. We would really like to find support on this. We'd really like to get above this 382. Being held down by these, especially by both of them, if we were at least below the red line, I'd have more hope. But getting a straight rejection like that and coming below it, it's not good. We're finding resistance currently on areas that we found resistance before that sent us down to our lows. That's not good. We broke out on weak-ass volume. We rejected this purple line. We went to the overbought zone that we haven't been in a very long time, all just to confirm a lower high. That's not good, guys. It's really not good. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, we've seen how long these sideways moves can take. So even if it's good, it's nothing to get excited about. Doge isn't gonna, don't worry about the media. Don't worry about things they're saying. I could be wrong. We could see Doge at $4 tomorrow. I don't know. Nobody knows the future. But my intuition, what the charts are telling me, this is going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time. It's probably going to take, in my opinion, at least from what we've seen right now, a third of a year. More likely, it's going to take closer to a year. And if this bear market is just getting started, if we're halfway there, guys, if Bitcoin continues to dump, this could take longer than a year. But that's not a bad thing. That's a good time to accumulate, And the only way that we're really going to know this is if we get lower lows. Time will tell. It's not something to be hasty with or be chomping at the bit to get. I'm going to blow my face up here so we can have a heart to heart. If you've made it this far, personal time. It's not something that we need to rush with. I know it's fast money. We look at Doge and we're like, oh man, it went from a cent all the way up to 77 cents, 73 cents in the last cycle. Oh my God, it's going to happen again. Elon's tweeting about it. It's all that, we recognize these patterns, but it's like this, it's a media ploy. Because look at what's happening in the charts. Look at what's happening in the charts. I'm not going to show you the charts. We already went over it. We got a lower high. After all that, we're in the midst of a recession in America, of a global economic recession as well. There's that shit going on with Russia and Ukraine, and I don't know, they killed 2 people in Poland on accident. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that stuff. I don't want to get like my stuff shunned on the algorithm, so I'm gonna just stop talking about that. But basically, the world has a bleak outlook right now. There's nothing really positive economically going on yet, unless you own oil, or like you're those guys. Other than that, there's really no positive outlook for a lot of economical things, and there's a lot of outlook that looks negative, to be fair. And in those kind of conditions, we do not need to be hasty. We need to be patient, get our money, save our money, and when the time comes, put our money into what we're looking to invest in. In this case, it's Dogecoin. And for me, after all this time, I'm going to shrink myself now again. We're going to go back to the main chart. After all this time of seeing Doge below 7 cents, below 6 cents even, you want to buy it here at nearly 9 cents? Or did you buy it at 15 cents? You know what I mean? Like, you want to buy it there? Like, wait, be patient. Be patient. And again, we haven't done anything significant. We've done nothing to suggest that we're kicking off the next run. And even when we do, guys, even when we get that higher high finally, I mean, this one's a little different. You know, we got more volume. The most volume we'd ever seen actually came in on that week. This is a little different. But here we got a higher high than these highs. We got a high. We got a higher high here. We got a higher high here. Was it time to get excited at any of these times? Sure, get excited, but don't go all in, because look at what happened. It just moved sideways. Even on this last one, it moved sideways for, I mean, we didn't have a real first pop for over like about a half a year. So it is reasons to get excited. Doing stuff like this is reasons to get excited. Seeing volume, the most volume that we've seen in over a year, though it's nothing in comparison to this, it's still exciting stuff. But don't blow your load before the, you know, like the ideal prices come along. Maybe that was the low, but I would bet that we will see prices below 7 cents again. I would bet. And I'm honestly thinking it's going to go lower than that, but what do I know? I will admit that I'm wrong with that. If we come down here, we confirm some support, we start treating this fib as a stair-stepping formation. Oops, I got it drawn wrong. If we can come back, and I really doubt that if we come back to this blue line that we're going to find it as support. But if we can come back down and confirm it as support again, hold it, go higher, find higher lows. If we can confirm that, then I'm all for it. I'm all for saying that this is the low right here. But until that happens, I'm not convinced. And I mean, until we reject this red line, I'm not convinced either. It looks like we're starting to, but there's hope. There is hope, not going to lie. But what we really would want to see is by the end of this week, we'd like to get back above this red line. It's not condemning if it doesn't happen. It could take more weeks to do it, but the longer we stay below this red line without getting back above it quickly, the more our chances are of going to this blue line, and honestly, the more our chances are of creating a lower low. We really want to get above this red line if we want Doge to do good things. But personally, I'd rather Doge go down so I could scoop up some more. You know, I'm a patient person. There's no need to get excited for, again, a lower high. It's a lower high, guys. Elon bought Twitter. Cool. Doge is going to the moon. Not yet. He's loading up the truck. He's getting ready to send the rocket to space. But we got to set that up. Anywho, we're getting all philosophical. I'm sorry. What would also be nice if Doge held this price is it's going to kind of bounce off of this 50 zone on the R side. That would be a good thing. We wouldn't mind seeing that. It can break below the 50. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to hold it. We have found support down here at the 45, 44 area before, 46 even. That can happen. It can definitely happen. But that always happens in an uptrend. We are in a downtrend, so I don't know if that's going to happen. I think I've beat this over the head with a dead horse, or beat this horse over the head enough to make it dead, whatever the saying is. I've done this enough, all to say that I don't necessarily know if it's going up or down. I do think it's going to go down, but I could be proven wrong. And there is hope. Can't deny it. There is hope. We're seeing bullish things happen in the media. We're seeing bullish price action. We have a higher high in this trend. You know, overall it's a lower high, but like, you know, what's not exciting is the rejections. All the rejections. We haven't really actually done anything significant on a very macro scale. But if we can hold this red line, if we can hold that, if we can get back above it, I'm going to draw it one last time. If we can hold that red line, if we can hold this 50 zone on the R side, that would look really good. That would look really good. There's no sugarcoating it. And I mean, look at this even. We got above the 50 here, and we would be holding support on the 50 here, coming back down to check it and then going off it. That's great. On both RSIs, the short and the long term, that'd be great. What would really suck, or maybe not suck, but would be bad for price action, would be if we found resistance on this red line, both these RSI get below the 50 again. That'd prove that this was just a little fake bull run, which it probably was, a little bull trap, and that this was just a little fake pop too, getting above the 50, coming back below it again, just confirming resistance on this. If we go to the daily, we can see that we are playing out some serious bearish divergence right here, even on, maybe not on this time frame, but yeah. And we're below the 50 on the daily. We might be finding it as resistance. Doge is moving pretty sideways and kind of boring right now. It is winding up. It might move. It could move back up again and ultimately go lower. But if it moves back up again, at least we're finding support. At least we're, breaking above this red line, which is looking like resistance right now. That would be a good thing. We really want to hold this red line. I don't know how many times to say it. I just keep saying it over and over again. it's, you know, it might not be a big deal in the long run. I mean, even on the daily here, we're holding this purple line. That's actually a good thing too, not gonna lie. This is actually a good thing, holding that. We might go up. I could be wrong. We might actually, like, fuck, man, that could be the low. That could be the low. It'd make me sad because I couldn't load up my bags at lower prices. But I mean, looking at the weekly, looking at the long term stuff, I'm not convinced that would be the low. If it is, I don't know, man. I don't know. We are okay. So okay, right. So here's the deal. We are still below the 50 on the long term RSI. And anytime, and to be fair, we're also below the 50 on the short term RSI. Anytime that I've seen us below the 50, and this is on the daily, even though we bounced off this, we found it as support momentarily, and we are right now confirming that red line, the fib, where is it, as resistance, finding support here, finding resistance here. The fact that we're below the 50 on this long-term RSI tells me, and we're above the purple here, tells me that we're probably going to go lower. If you remember any of my videos talking about the long-term RSI and how it interacts with price and this purple line, anytime we have price above the purple, but the long-term RSI is below the 50, that's not a good thing. That's normally a good time to sell. It's not a good time to buy. So this actually does look pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of hyped for a second with this bounce here. Not gonna lie. Got some higher lows, a little higher highs in this range. But again, you zoom it out to the weekly, you zoom it out to the long term, and you had all this excitement, man. I remember 2 weeks ago, I had people texting me. I got Facebook messages of people who are like, how do I buy Dogecoin? Because they know that I like to talk about Dogecoin. And they're silent now, 2 weeks later. Not like 2 weeks has gone by. They're silent now. They're all crying because they bought it 15 cents and now it's worth half that, you know? Sorry, guys. I love all of you. You guys know I love all of you. I'm just being direct. I'm being serious here. It's a long overdrawn video, so I'm getting all philosophical and talking a lot. But what I'm really trying to say is we need to get above this red line, which is at 9.3 cents. 9.3 cents. If we can't do that sooner than later, that means we're going lower. And not doing it in 5 days doesn't condemn us, but it would suggest that things could be condemning. is all I mean. Anything can happen, and we did just reject the purple line, and we were just overbought. I keep saying the same stuff over and over again because I really don't know. You know, I really don't know. Things could take off here. They really could. That could have been the bottom. But the charts, to me, if I have to be direct, I'm leaning bearish. I'm leaning bearish. I would hold off on buying Dogecoin. That's what I'm gonna do. This is not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Sorry this video is so overdrawn. Sorry, not sorry. Hope you all have a wonderful day. If you like the content, you want to watch more, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Thank you.